One of the coolest and most useful things to do with Midjourney is copy the style of an existing artist. Midjourney was trained on at least 100 million different images. It's unclear exactly how many, but there's at least publicly they've stated over 100 million images. And a lot of those images are from very famous artists, right? That's just what a lot of images are in the world of art. And that ranges from things like, surrealist painters like Dali, Magritte, Picasso, Escher, but also a lot of smaller artists that you may not even know about. But if you find an image that you like, sometimes what you can do is figure out who made it and then use that. So if it's just some person, that is a friend, it's not going to work very well, that you just find some painting they've done that you like. But if you find somebody who's an online artist, even a modern day current artist, assuming they didn't just, start painting yesterday, but there's a chance the model knows about their style. So this can be really useful. Instead of trying to describe exactly what a Picasso painting looks like, it's pretty hard. I guess you could say cubist and blocky and warped perspectives and whatever, but it's often easier just to use the name of the artist. And the same goes for photographers. So let's try a few examples, and then I'll show you, there's tons of resources to find all sorts of different artists. You don't have to be an art expert. So let's do an imagine here of I like a scarlet. I've been doing too many animals. Let's do something that's not an animal. How about woman playing violin? And then you could just put the word, let's say Pablo Picasso. But what a lot of people do is in the style of Pablo Picasso, in the style of X. And that tends to work very well. So in the style of Pablo Picasso. Let's do a few of these, just very recognizable artists. Let's do in the style of, Banksy. And let's also do one with Salvador Dali. I've already done Dali earlier. How about, let's do Magritte. Okay, and while that's going, I've hit my limit of 3 concurrent. Let's go take a look at the same GitHub repo called Midjourney Styles and Keywords Reference. It has a very long list of artists. All sorts of different categories, so realism versus graffiti versus romanticism and Renaissance. Let's take a look maybe at expressionism. So tons of different artists, or post-impressionism, right? Well, just Van Gogh apparently. Abstract art, realist art, tons of different artists, a lot I've never heard of. Surrealism, Dali, Picasso, Magritte, Max Ernst, lots of different examples. And when you think about why this is effective, or can be effective, when you consider what all goes into an artist's paintings, it's tons of different elements, the way they light it, the actual medium that they use, the style choices that they use. There's so much that goes into it, and you can encapsulate that all with the name of the artist. Now, this only really works if there's a particular style you're really after, some inspiration image, but you can also combine artists too. So you could take, if you like the painting style of Grant Wood, who I think he did American Gothic, but you want something that is combined with Alex Gray's psychedelic paintings, you could probably try feeding it in together. And let's just check in on this. Awesome. So here's our Picasso, woman playing violin in the style of Pablo Picasso, looks good. Here's our Banksy, also looks good. And then here's Rene Magritte. So Magritte is the guy who did the, a bunch of paintings. This is not a pipe painting, the apple in front of the guy's head painting. And this kind of captures his composition, where he does a lot of things that are centered in the frame. Although I would still say, if we were really going after it, we would try and get it to be an oil or at least an acrylic painting, some sort of painted medium. This to me looks like a Magritte-inspired photo or 3D render. Anyway, let's try a few more. So this works with all sorts of artists. Again, it has to have been trained on the artist's work. One of my favorite photographers is named Gregory Crewdson. He does these really crazy, hopefully there's no nudity, these very crazy cinematic photos that he sets up for days with spotlights and with crazy lighting and very hyper-staged sets. So everything that you see in these images has been staged, like it's a scene from a movie. Good documentary on it, by the way. It's really interesting to see how he lights everything. Anyway, I like this style. I don't really know how I would describe it. It's hard. I mean, it's cinematic, but it's also, there's like a sort of mood to all of his works. It's somber or isolating or just moody. If you look at these, right, they're not exactly screaming happy. And it's a kind of similar set type of lighting. It's the very deliberate sets. So what I can do is just use Gregory Crutzen as my as part of my prompt. Imagine, whoops, misspelled it. Woman playing violin in the style of Gregory Crutzen. Now, I would probably have more details there. Let's just see what if this is all I give it. Let's see what happens. But often you'll have, very specific things you want. She's going to be on the left side of the image, and there's going to be a spotlight. There's a fireplace in the background, whatever. So while that's going, let's take a look at a few other artists and just queue up some more. So I do like Alex Gray. It's a very deliberate, distinctive style. How about some graffiti artists or even Instagram artists? So again, these are like not, artists necessarily in museums. Maybe they are, I apologize if they are. But we may be able to try some of these. Like, this is a pretty distinctive style of digital art. Let's try taking this person, Peter Moorbacher, and let's do the same thing. Imagine woman playing violin. Jeez, cannot type. In the style of Peter Moorbacher. And let's try one more, maybe a manga artist. Ooh, I like that. Let's try that as our style. So in the style of Junji Ito. I don't know why this Gregory Crutzen one is not going yet. There's an error. Looks like Midjourney's being a little buggy. So while those are going, I'll just return back to the community feed, and you'll see that a lot of these, maybe not all of them, but a lot of them will mention specific artists. Like this one here, art by Brian Kessinger, J. Scott Campbell. I don't know these artists, but I assume those are artist names. Here's another example of these. Jellyfish, coral reef, I'm not sure what it is, but by Aaron Hansen and Donato Giancola and Roger Dean. So again, I assume those are famous, maybe watercolor painters. The point is that a lot of people take advantage of this, of providing specific artist names. Same thing here. Rachel Rushk, Jan Dahim. I'm sorry for butchering the names, but this is a very common tactic when you're trying to achieve a specific result. It is hard to describe an artist's style, but it's very easy to describe their name. Okay, I mean, take a look. This is the Gregory Crutzen example. It's still a little bit too 3D rendery. There's more things we could do to steer it in the more photographic direction. But look at the lighting, the composition, the moodiness of the scenes. So I showed you his original images a moment ago. Hopefully you remember, they're very moody, soft lighting, a lot of sort of smoke effects and fog in the air, overcast nighttime, gray skies, very staged sets, moss and greenery, and just overall a somber sort of desolate mood. And that's what we see here. And all that I said was a woman playing violin in the style of Gregory Crutzen. Now, there's a lot of potential issues where people are unhappy about using Midjourney to copy artist styles. That's a whole other can of worms I'm not going to open up, but I think it's really fun to play around with. And this would just be my first iteration. Oh, it wasn't even done yet. Wow. So here is the, in the style of that anime artist, what is it, Junji Ito? It looks very similar to those images that I showed you. Spirally, dense backgrounds. And then this is the digital artist that we found, sort of ethereal. I don't know how to describe it. It's hard, but it looks very similar to that man's work. So very cool stuff and a really useful technique. Now let's end with a few more examples. Oh, looks like this one ran twice. And some of these are certainly more photography, and they all just scream of this artist. I can tell you just because I'm familiar with his work, it's pretty accurate. Now let's try a few more maybe hybrid examples. So instead of copying one artist's style, let's try doing a combination. So one of my favorite artists is Albert Bierstadt. I never said his name out loud actually, but he does these American West paintings that are just completely unrealistic, but very beautiful, crazy lighting, stormy lakes, mountains, wildlife, and they're sort of fantastical. Let's combine his work with maybe, let's do something obvious like Picasso. Let's just see what happens. So let's do imagine, and then I'll say landscape. Is there a particular landscape? I don't know, Rocky Mountain landscape. Lake. Let's put a moose in there. And then I'll say in the style of Bierstadt and Pablo Picasso. And this will be a very weird hybrid, but I picked Picasso because it's just going to be very obvious, right? We all know what Picasso's work looks like. And then Bierstadt does these, did I already go past it? Yeah, these very oil painty, beautiful, soft lit fantasy landscapes. Let's try one more while that's going. So the artist Kehinde Wiley does a very distinctive style. He painted the, I don't know if it's the national, what do you call it, the White House portrait, or if it's in the National Portrait Gallery, but he did the portrait of Obama that was quite famous with the floral background elements. That's a trend, paisley and florals in his photos. Let's try doing a portrait of, a dog or a cat in the style of Kehinde Wiley. Okay, so I ran dog with bow tie in the style of Kehinde Wiley. And I think that's enough examples, but just for fun, let's do one by Alex Gray. Very distinctive psychedelic lines, sort of fractally. I don't even know how to describe his paintings. And by the way, the in the style of Bierstadt, in the style of Picasso, it finished. I'm not terribly enthused. Here's one that was just in the style of Bierstadt. It is more smooth, I guess, and more oil painty, less blocky. Here's the one that I also added in the style of Pablo Picasso. It's a little bit more blocky. We're not getting any cubist elements really, but I guess you could say there's some Picasso in there, although I'm not super enthused with how that turned out. Now, these definitely look like Kehinde Wiley paintings, although they're a little photographic, so of course we could then try running that again. Just one more example. Whoops. Imagine. And I'll say dog with bow tie, maybe oil painting. So add the medium in there. And let's go back to Alex Gray. And what would be a fun one to paint or to imagine here? How about just a parrot flying? And I'm going to say in the style of Alex Gray. I'll be back when these finish up. Okay, here we go. This is the second time that I ran the dog with bow tie in the style of Kehinde Wiley, but I put oil painting as the medium. This was the first time. It looks painting-ish-esque, but still very, very realistic for a painting. And then if we look at these examples, this is much closer to the style of Kehinde Wiley, where he's not going for hyper-realism anyway, or photorealism. He does a lot of, line work there, where the shadows and lighting is kind of exaggerated and almost looks like a lino cut or something, where there's a harsh contrast. I'm not an art critic in any way, but this looks just like his work, and the backgrounds are all spot on. Just by adding that oil painting keyword in there, it really helped us. Finally, here's our Alex Gray parrots, and they look pretty close, to the style of Alex Gray. Probably more colors than he actually uses. If we go back to these references, yeah, there's more that we could do to try and guide it in that direction. We could add psychedelic, we could add a color palette, lighting, a specific medium, but I think that's enough for this video. Fun stuff, very fun, and a really useful technique is to say in the style of X artist.